Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Maxim Shapiro, a life coach who works with men who feels lost, directionless, or disconnected from purpose. After spending years feeling unfulfilled, despite believing he was on the right path, Max eventually realized he wasn't truly living intentionally. That journey led him to reconnect with purpose, fulfillment, and personal responsibility. And now he helps other men do the same. Max, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right. So yes, I want you to, take us back to your early years, basically. So what was life like growing up for you, and what kind of environment shaped you early on?
Well, we emigrated to the US from the Soviet Union when I was little. I was 4 years old. And I, I think if you looked at my life from the outside when I was little, I mean, everything probably seemed fine. And that's, I think, how it seemed for most of my life, even though I was unhappy. I think something just got missed between my parents and me, and this isn't about blaming my parents. They did the best that they could. They did the best that they had the tools to do. And coming over to this country from a completely different culture was hard. They probably weren't emotionally the most well-equipped people. But somebody else growing up in my circumstances might have had a very different and better experience. I just know I was very sad, pretty much, as a kid and probably my whole life up to about 9 or 10 years ago. Um, and I remember a specific instance because even though my parents weren't like the warmest, we always lived in environments that were fairly nurturing. But then I remember we moved to the East Coast when I was 7 years old and starting second grade. And I remember walking into second grade on the first day and just feeling distinctly like I didn't belong there. And that was probably really the first time in my life that I felt that. And that kind of left a lasting impression. So, maybe that was a pivotal day. But, my parents basically, as they saw it, like their job was to keep me alive, feed me, house me, and give me the best education that they could. And that's what they
Mm.
did. But something, inside of me was missing. And I know that there was a lot of human connection that I just didn't understand how to make. And mainly it was because I wasn't connected to myself.
Mm. Wow. All right. Like you said, you felt like there was something missing, right? So looking back, what do you think your younger self was searching for without you even realizing it?
I think it's the same thing that I'm, continue to search for today, although I'm certainly a lot
Mm.
closer and fuller of it. But it was just love. It was just self-acceptance, the feeling of being loved and enough. I think that I felt like I was not, I wasn't good enough at some level. And that feeling haunted me for a long time.
Mm. Okay. All right. Wow. Yes, thank you, Maxim. So, I want us to talk about what you're doing now, right? Today you help men reconnect with purpose and direction. So, what inspired you to turn your personal journey into coaching?
Well, the person who helped me get on this leg of my personal journey is a coach. And so she really inspired me to do it. I think at some level, I've always been a coach. I've always enjoyed helping people like see clarity. Like an example that just came to mind, like when we were in college, I think I had a friend who had a girlfriend from high school, I remember talking with him on the phone and him telling me, "Oh, I don't really like this girl that much anymore, but I think I'll just stay with her just through college, just to kind of maintain the status quo." And I said, "Really? You're gonna stay with her even though you don't like her?" And basically, like through that conversation, just helped him to see that he was better off um, leaving this girl that he didn't really love, and not wasting his time and not wasting her time. Which is kind of surprising to me now that it's interesting because I always had kind of this deep insights into other people from a young age, even though I wasn't necessarily able to bring that deep insight to myself. So anyway, this guy left this woman he was dating, and then ended up meeting the woman who became his wife and gave him two children. So just little moments of helping people gain clarity, which is really what coaching is, have always been a part of my personality.
Okay. Helping people gain clarity. I mean, that's the sole purpose of my podcast also, helping young adults specifically to gain clarity. So talking about gaining clarity, right? There must be some struggles that people are facing that they need clarity so they could, live through those or probably get past whatever it is they're going through. So why do you think so many men struggle to talk honestly about what they're feeling? And what do you think are like the common struggles that men come to you with?
Well, I think a lot of men struggle to talk about what they're feeling because they don't know. I would say that a big part of my journey and a lot of the work that I've done in coaching and in therapy has been just talking about what I feel. And the thing is, we live in a society that's kind of obsessed with labels. And
Mm,
so, like people just want to label everything. Like people want any kind of behavior, people want to label it, people want to diagnose it, people want to have a tidy box to put it in, like, oh yeah, my child has ADHD, or
right.
autism, or this thing or that thing. Like nothing is that clean. Everything is messy. Everything, the lines are all blurred. The lines between one condition and another condition are not crisp and clean. It all kind of blends together into humanity. And so I think the converse of it is, if we don't have a label for something, we don't talk about it. If we don't know what to name something, we just don't we don't talk about it. And so I think with men a lot, we have a hard enough time understanding what we're feeling, but then on top of that, we can't even give it a name. And
Mm,
so that we just don't talk about it. And I think a big piece of it is getting away from needing to have names for everything and just talking about like what it is, how it feels, what's actually happening. And it's not like a short one word thing like, oh yeah, I'm dealing with this. No, you might have to
mm,
go through a few paragraphs and talk about all the different things that you're feeling, and it can feel a little overwhelming. So I think that's a big part of the reason men don't talk about it.
mm. Wow. All right. Okay. So yes, I would like to know, right, how important is a community and healthy relationship in a man's growth?
I mean, it's unbelievably
Mm,
important. I mean, I think men at their best create community. When a man is really, out there in the world giving his best, you know, trying to fulfill his potential, he creates communities. It's natural to connect with other people. You want to expand your life and build relationships. I see myself doing that all the time, and I see other men around me that I admire that are leaders and that are seeking to fulfill their own potential. I see them doing that. So yeah, community is hugely important, and the opposite of community is just kind of being alone. And I mean, there are moments when you definitely need to be alone. You want to be alone. It's healthy to be able to be alone at times, but it's also unbelievably dangerous and unhealthy if a man doesn't know how to build community, and that's why he's alone. And you see that in all the worst parts of our society. Whenever there's a school shooting or some kind of horrible event that occurs, where violence occurs, very often it's because there's a man involved who didn't know how to build community, didn't have the resources, didn't know how to talk to people, and was alone with his thoughts. Maybe found community among others who were alone with their thoughts, who also didn't have good tools to use and create, came up with a horrible idea. So community is unbelievably important.
Hmm. Right. So community is actually very important, especially in a man's growth. Right. So talking about, growth, right? What do you think are like some daily habits or mindset shifts that could help men regain direction in their lives?
I think there's a quote that is very poignant to me that I heard after I met the woman who changed my life. Um, and it applies to me absolutely. But the quote, and I think it might be a Mark Twain quote, but it's we live two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of my life, I put off a lot of things, and I always told myself, "Oh, I'll get to that someday." Well, someday is now. Like there is no someday. Uh, everything that you want to do that's important to you, that kind of makes up the person that you are, in your mind, in your dreams, in your ideal, that has to start now. And that's what it means to be, you know, trying to fulfill your purpose and your potential in life. And so, what this woman really helped me to do was to realize that everything that I want in life has to start now. There is no, putting things off. I'll get to it someday. I mean, that's not to say I do everything all the time, but whenever you notice yourself saying, "Oh, I'll get to that someday," that should immediately be like a hint to you that you need to actually start to get to that today. Like for me, a perfect example for me, my whole life I wanted a dog. I never had a dog. And I always told myself, oh, someday I'll have a dog. And shortly after I met this woman, I just had this realization, like I've been saying this to myself for 40 years. Like, when am I
Mm-hmm.
actually going to get a dog? And I went out and got a dog. But there's so many things I think that people want to do where they're like, yeah, one day I'll do that. Well, you're getting old. We're all getting old day by day. Life is not as long as you think it is. You don't have as much time. So I think, living like you don't have all the time in the world, and having urgency around things that are important to you and inspire you is important.
Mm. Wow. All right. So, like you said, realizing that you only have one life, right? And then you live it to the fullest. That's just what matters, honestly. So, yes. And also, you also talk about, becoming the hero of your own story. So, what does that mean to you personally?
It means that I'm really giving my best every day to be my best. And
Mm,
it can be little things and it can be big things. Like uh, when I met this woman and at first we were working together professionally and then I fell in love with her and we began a romantic relationship and I
mm,
moved to California, like I quit my job. I was living on the East Coast. I quit my job. I committed to this relationship, which I had never really had a committed relationship that lasted longer than a year before. I moved across the country. I started my own business. I got off of antidepressant medication. So I did a bunch
mm,
of like big things. And though, that was like a buildup of things that I had been putting off for a long time. So I just kind of felt like
mm,
I'm going to do this stuff all. I should have done all these things at some point before in my life if I had been living all out, but I haven't been. I've been hiding from life. And so I'm just going to do all of this at once, which is not to
mm,
say most people are in that situation. I think a lot of people aren't in that situation. So those are kind of big things, right? You should be doing
mm,
big things that inspire you that you truly want to do. Like if you're unhappy at work and you've always wanted to start your own business, you should do that. If you're
mm,
if you're if you're living alone and you want to be in a relationship and you want to have kids, you should start to ask women out, and go through all the stuff that's involved in that, getting rejected, all having building up the courage to go ask a woman out in public, all this kind of stuff. Um, but there's, all these little things too. Like life is actually made up of very small moments. It's not all these big moments. It's the little moments when you think of, oh, I should call my mom and tell her I love her. I should kiss my wife right now. I should, do this nice thing for this person. All these little things that we do, we have these thoughts that are inspired thoughts and we ignore them. And that's certainly what I did for a lot of my life. And I think one of the best things I've done is to start to listen to those thoughts because that's your intuition talking to you, telling you this is how to be happy. These little moments when you go out of your way to do something, that inspires you, that if you do that consistently over a long period of time, that builds who you are. And I think,
mm.
that's a huge part of being your own hero.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Max. I think conversations like this are actually very important, especially for young adults, right? And speaking of young adults, I just want you to talk to someone out there, specifically men, obviously, who feel lost and completely lost and they don't know where to begin when it comes to life generally. What advice would you have for them?
I would say, well, I mean, go all out. I mean, I would repeat some of the things that I've said in this interview. I would say, seek out good advisors. Like,
Mm,
I notice, as I do better in life, not just financially, but just energetically. The people in my life get better, and the people from whom I get advice get better. So seek out good advisors. Um,
mm,
even when I was depressed and not living a life I was proud of, there was a part of me that always wanted to, and I was always looking for the win. That's part of what got me kind of connected with this woman who changed my life. I was looking for the win. I wasn't satisfied with the sadness that I had. So I would say, look for the win in every situation. Look for the best advisors that are available to you. Don't just look for people who are going to tell you what you want to hear. Look for someone who's going to challenge you and give you good advice. So if you're a young man and you want to get into college, look around you at the people you know, and whatever your circle is, just find the best in your circle of someone who can help you get to where you want to go. And then because you don't have to get all the way at once, right? Life is all made up of small steps. So take the best next step that you can. Then when you get there, then you'll be exposed to a new group of people, and then you can look for the best in that group to ask advice from. Just constantly be looking for the best around you. And what I mean by the best is like the highest quality people, the people who it would be the hardest for you to emulate because of just how good they are as people. People who kind of intimidate you because, their level of character is so high or their work ethic is so strong or something like that. Like go to those people, seek those people out, you know, be around them, try to be worthy of their company and ask their advice.
Mm. Wow. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Max. I think like I said, this has been such an important conversation. I think a lot of people, especially young men, right, they're all trying to figure out who they are, what direction they are headed in, and how to, build lives that they actually feel connected to. So what I appreciate about your story is the honesty, right? You've experienced what it feels like to move through life, right, with trying to reconnect with yourself, and now you're helping others reconnect with moment with meaning in a very responsible way. So yes, thank you, Maxim, which brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. So you could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. So what is one habit that changed your life?
Consistency.
Mm,
Just no matter like the things that I'm committed to, little routines, just do them all the time, do them every day, do them when it's inconvenient, build consistency in yourself, and you can do anything.
Okay, all right. So, what is one thing men need less of today?
Men need less convenience. Men need, yeah, less, having things as easy as possible.
Okay. And finally, what brings you peace?
Uh, the uh, the knowledge that I am giving my best. Honestly, the thing that's brought me the most peace recently is kind of I had this realization as I was lying in bed one night that I am seen by God. I was kind
Mm,
of going through this moment where I was, feeling like all this work I'm doing isn't being seen. And I just had this like moment of clarity, almost like God was talking to me himself, where I realized like he sees everything I'm doing. And that kind of led to, oh, everybody around me sees everything I'm doing. I might not know that, but I am being seen. So I think knowing that I'm seen by God is making a huge difference.
mm. Wow. All right. So, yes, thank you, Maxim. And finally, before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
Well, you can find me on my website, forwardmotioncoach.ing. You can set up a session with me there, and we can go from there.
All right, forwardmotioncoach.ing. Yeah, I'm going to put the links in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And yes, to my listeners, I'll say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new and amazing episodes. Once again, thank you, Maxim. Do have a wonderful day ahead of you.
Thank you, and you as well. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.
Have a nice day.